that a tree hit their equipment. Not sure if the wind blew it into it or if it fell. They haven't given us confirmation on that. But 200 customers are out right now. That number was up over 600 earlier this morning, so they are working to get power back on in that area. And we're going to stay on top of all of this through SDG&E for the rest of the morning. Meanwhile, there is a flood warning now in effect in the Mission Valley area on the San Diego River. This is the hydrology report. It shows the projected crest of the river later tonight. We just checked. It's already risen from about 3 feet to nearly 4 feet in just the last hour or so as the water has really started to come down. It's projected to get up to 10.3 feet tonight. That's minor flood stage. So still officially a flood, not as bad as what we saw, say, last week. And really quickly, this is a picture, live look at Quarry Road down in the South Bay. This road always gets water flowing over it, but it's a good indicator of where things stand. You can see the water on it right now. So roads that typically flood are starting to flood this morning.
And speaking of transportation, we do have an update on the rail closure in San Clemente. In preparation for today's storm, plastic tarp was installed over the hillside that gave way in January, forcing the suspension of the rail service between Orange and San Diego counties. As part of repair work, crews have been installing pipes to improve water drainage from this hillside to try and prevent more ground saturation. The service has been suspended since last Wednesday between Laguna Niguel, Mission Viejo area and Oceanside stations due to this landslide. We still don't know when rail service will resume, but the tracks have been cleared enough to allow freight trains to run on these tracks.
Rain will continue to intensify through the afternoon. I'll pinpoint which areas just saw that flood watch upgraded to a warning, and we'll pinpoint when conditions will improve.
And SDG&E has been demoted as the most expensive utility in the state. Coming up in just 9 minutes, we will break down the latest electricity rates and how they compare to 2 other top utilities here in California.
Skycam Views, sponsored by Carlsbad Solar. This 10 News Pinpoint Weather Report is sponsored by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air. Nobody wows clients like we do.
Welcome back on your Thursday morning. The time is 11:18, and let's go ahead and start things off by firing up our satellite and radar composite because it is active. We're not only seeing rain here in San Diego, but also spanning just to our north in counties including Orange County, Riverside, as well as San Bernardino. Right now, as we fire up our 5 radar sweeps, is doing a really nice job highlighting where we're seeing the heaviest rain, and it is still continuing to come down in parts of the North County, just north of the 76 in Camp Pendleton, parts of Bonsall, right along the 15 in Rainbow and parts of Temecula. Moving a little more east, it's also starting to pick up in the Julian area right along the 78 Highway 79, and we're now seeing the rain intensify right along the 8 freeway in the La Mesa, El Cajon, Granite Hills, even Rancho San Diego neighborhood. We started with a flood watch, and we have seen those get upgraded over the past couple of hours. We now have a flood warning, which is the worst of the watches and warnings, taking effect for this area in the lime green, so stretching all the way from Oceanside, running diagonal across the 8 as well as parts of the 52 all the way to Santee. That means flooding is imminent, and the San Diego River is already at flood stage. We also have a flood advisory. This was also just upgraded for the northwest quadrant of the county, so flooding could happen at any moment now for that pocket. Winds are starting to have a kick right now. They're ranging anywhere from 25 to about 30 miles per hour, strongest in the South Bay, but those winds will continue to strengthen as we get through the afternoon hours. That wind advisory pushing for the coast and valleys all the way through 2 p.m. with gusts exceeding close to 45, 55 miles per hour. And because that ground's still really saturated, down trees, power lines are going to be a main concern. So as we roll out the wind gust futurecast, I'm going to fast forward to about 1 p.m. here. And if you pay attention to the reddish colors and then notice the key, that's where the gusts are going to range anywhere from 30 upwards of 45, even plus miles per hour around 1 o'clock before those winds weaken, then shifting onshore, impacting the mountains as well as the desert areas. Taking a look at a rain cloud futurecast, we'll continue to have those off and on showers, heavy at times all the way through the afternoon. But as I fast forward to about 3 p.m., we actually have a little bit of a break. Those showers become much more scattered, still intense at times, especially once we inch towards the evening hours around 10:30 or so. That's when we can continue to see that chance for isolated thunderstorms. And that's also when the snow levels will start to drop down to about 5,000 feet, which means that a lot of areas in our mountains, including Mount Laguna as well as Palomar Mountain, could get some snowpack tomorrow morning. Coastal areas will be in the low 60s. Keep in mind, if you're headed towards the beaches, we also have that high surf advisory, really strong rip currents. Waves will be anywhere from 8 to 10 feet in some spots. Tomorrow, we'll see those waves weaken, and we'll also see those showers taper off. But because of the residual moisture and a lot of the instability sticking around in the atmosphere, we run the chance of showers. We'll be in the 60s for the inland areas this weekend, and that's actually when we have that pocket of dry conditions, and then we'll have our secondary round of rain next Tuesday and Wednesday, looking to hold off for most of Monday. Desert areas in the 50s, climbing to the 60s by Friday. All right, it's 11:22. Let's go ahead and toss it over to CHP Officer Mark Latula, who's checking our roadways.
Yes,
hey, Mark.
Yes, Vanessa, it's kind of off and on over here at CHP. We're headed out to 805 and 94, both directions. We have a couple of crashes right in that area, right outside your offices there at KGTV, so heads up for that. Elsewhere in the county, we're still having spots where we're going to find slowing and then full freeway speeds as well. So just be ready all over the county. Checking in live on 15 in Carmel Mountain area. As you can see, everything looking good right there for now. Checking on Interstate 5 in the Oceanside area. Also, update on the 78 El Camino Real. We have closed the eastbound on-ramp to the 78 from El Camino Real due to the possibility of some flooding starting there. So we'll keep you updated on that as we go through the hour. I'm CHP Officer Mark Latulip with your 10 News Time Saver Traffic.
California's new law to require background checks for ammo purchases has been held up again. Why a judge now says it can't go into effect. Welcome back. We just wiped the camera off right outside our station because it was a little rainy in the Mount Hope Webster neighborhood. You're taking a look at the 94 as it heads east out of the Mount Hope area or west into downtown, just near the 805 interchange. And you see just how wet those roads are right now. It's going to be this way for quite a while as the bulk of the storm is still moving through San Diego. We're staying on top of all of it this midday, from its impact on traffic to potential flooding, and the neighborhoods that were hit by last week's storms as well, how they're faring during this latest deluge.
Yeah, we're going to keep you updated for the next hour and a half. We're going to be on air monitoring the storm, but we do want to get to a couple news stories this midday. San Diego federal judge once again struck down a state law that required background checks for nearly all gun ammunition purchases. The law also barred state residents from bringing home ammo that they bought out of state. Judge Benitez ruled the restrictions violate the Second Amendment. The judge previously struck down the same law back in April 2020, but the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals reinstated the law just days later while the government appealed. The state's AG's office says that it's going to seek an immediate stay on the judge's decision.
There's a bit of good news for SDG&E customers. The electric company is no longer the highest charging electricity rate in California. That #1 spot now belongs to Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E. They provide power to about 16 million Californians, charging 37.5 cents per kilowatt hour to their average customer. SDG&E is #2. They average 32.8 cents per kilowatt hour. Southern California Edison averages 28.2 cents.
So many people have come together to help their neighbors in need, and Feeding San Diego is making sure people impacted by the flood have enough to eat. The organization is holding a drive-through food distribution. It's going to be on Monday from 10 in the morning to noon at Faith Chapel on Campo Road. That's in Spring Valley. No registration is required, and each household will get 40 pounds of ready-to-eat meals and produce. And we know that many of you are so eager to help your neighbors. We do have a list of places that you can donate to. All of it's on the resource center of 10news.com. And right now we want to take you to a live look here at San Diego International Airport. We're going to have an update on all the delays and cancellations if you're planning to fly out of here.
Yeah, noticing doesn't look like anything on the runway there. We're also going to head down to San Ysidro to check on flood conditions there. We've already seen one car try to drive through a roadway that had been flooded. Don't do that today, or really any day, but especially right now. We'll be right back.
It is 11:30 right now as we take a live look here at the Embarcadero, right at the Star of India. And yes, it is raining here throughout the county, heavy at times. We have seen some minor flooding throughout the county. Our Vanessa Paz is keeping us updated on that and the roadways. A lot going on this midday.
All right, thanks for joining us at 11:31. Now we have extended coverage of this storm from now until 1 o'clock. I'm Jared Aarons.
And I'm Melissa Basiha. Of course, the rain continues to come down across the county. You can see it right here. We are on top of the storm track.
Yeah, we have team coverage this morning with crews on flood, rain, wind watches, but we want to start with meteorologist Vanessa Paz. She's tracking where things are at this hour, really putting this map into perspective. Vanessa?
Oh yeah, Jared and Mel. And our 5 radar sweeps that we have going throughout the counties here in San Diego as well to our north are doing a really nice job highlighting where we're seeing some of the heaviest rain. And right now it is continuing to dump in the North County along parts of Camp Pendleton as well as Oceanside. They just can't get a break. So it is heavily saturated across those major freeways. Moving on to the south end of the county right now, most of the heavier showers are pushing right along the 8 just north of Campo, right south of the Mount Laguna area, also currently in Julian. And some of those rainfall amounts earlier, they were about 0.8 of an inch per hour. So if that cell were to kind of sit parked over that pocket for an hour, some areas could get close to an inch of rain, but it looks like right now it is becoming on and off pretty widespread as far as the heavy activity goes. So this flood warning was upgraded not too long ago, and it's mainly impacting the OB area, Point Loma, parts of Mission Valley, Tierra Santa, stretching pretty parallel to the 8 and then parts of the 52. This one also just went into effect about 10-15 minutes ago. It was a flood watch upgraded to a flood advisory for the northwest quadrant of the county, which means that flooding could happen any minute now. Regardless, a flood watch is in effect for the entire county throughout tomorrow morning. These are the rainfall totals. Now, the National Weather Service has done a really nice job updating these numbers. Fallbrook has officially broke an inch of rain, about 1.25 inches there, about 0.8 of an inch in Escondido as well as Fallbrook, about 0.6 for Oceanside. Coming up, we'll talk more about when we'll continue to see intense rainfall as well as when conditions will improve. That's all ahead. All right, and let's go ahead and see what's happening. I wanted to highlight the traffic maps here because the blue is where we're seeing ponding in some of those flooded roadways. We also have some crashes everywhere you see a hazard icon. That's where we're tracking either a rollover, crash, or even a breakdown. I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to CHP Mark Latula because he has access to all of those cameras across our freeways and has better details. Hey, Mark.
Yeah, right now, Vanessa, we've got a couple of new ones. North County 78 near the 15, just west of the 15. A lot of our crashes right now are solo spinouts, and there's one reason for that. That's your speed. You're going too fast, you're hydroplaning slightly, and then losing control of your car. So that one is just out of the reach of my camera right there, just near the 15. And then checking on the 805, we've got 3 or 4 crashes between the 805 down to the 94 area that we are working at the moment trying to get those lanes cleared. Most of them have been moved to the right-hand shoulder, but we are working with tow trucks and getting those people out of there as fast as we can for you to have a clear commute. I'm CHP Officer Mark Latulip with your 10 News Time Saver Traffic.
All right, as you can probably tell, the rain has hit our second storm in about a week and a half, and it's bringing potential for more flooding in a number of areas all across San Diego County. That includes neighborhoods that were hit hard by that flood about a week ago. As we've mentioned all morning, there is an evacuation warning in place for people who live in those neighborhoods if it gets bad again. ABC 10 News reporter Midday Holmes joins us live right now from Southcrest. Midday, the city told people to be ready to leave on a moment's notice. Sounds like people have listened this morning.
Yeah, Jerry, good morning. So we have moved. So we were on Beta Street, and on that street and the surrounding streets, for the most part, people have listened. Yes, they have left their homes, but there are still a few people that are bracing the storm in their houses. So the city wants them to know if the flooding gets bad, they are encouraging them to leave. But as far as where we are right now, Alpha Street and 38th, now the rain has calmed down just a little bit, but we wanted to come over here to take a look at this canal. This is the canal that pretty much flooded this neighborhood about a week ago. Now, about an hour ago, though, we saw city crews taking a look at this canal. It's not flooded now, but more water is running through it compared to what we saw very early this morning. And one neighbor says, although it's cleared out, he's still worried.
I'm a little nervous just because I don't know how this new dam thing is gonna work right here. But from what I'm seeing is that the water level got way higher than what they're putting up. So hopefully their clean efforts do make a big difference now, because I noticed that the canal is way cleaner.
Now, we just heard from Jesse Preciadio, and he says the storms last week was the worst that he's ever seen it. He's lived in this area for over 30 years. Now, throughout the rain event, the city says Storm Patrol will monitor more than 46,000 storm drains citywide for any issues. It will also be responding to any reported flooding and downed trees or branches. The city says it will have swiftwater rescue teams in this area. We have seen a few make its way through here. Officers have also been patrolling this area, including Chief David Nislight. Now, should a mandatory evacuation be issued, SDPD officers will go door to door to make sure that people are out of their homes. If you, though, start to see flooding in your neighborhood, neighbors should call the city's Public Works Dispatch. That number right there on your screen, 619-527-7500, and this will ensure the quickest response. But back out here live, you can see that water flowing there in the canal. A lot of efforts went into cleaning this up, but of course we will continue to keep an eye on this area as the storm makes its way through the county. Live in South Crest, Nate Holmes, ABC 10 News.
All right, flooding is starting to pick up in some other flood-prone areas, and it's not just the rain that we have to worry about today. High winds are playing a huge factor in this storm. ABC 10 News reporter Danny Miskell is live in San Ysidro. Danny, we've seen gusts down there more than 30 miles an hour, sustained winds in the 20s. You spoke with San Diego Fire and Rescue. What did they have to say about the danger these winds?
Hi, Jared. Well, they're saying that they're really going to be monitoring down trees and down power lines today because the winds are picking up out here. I just had my umbrella. I had to close it. I was going to blow away. They're gusting pretty fiercely out here right now. San Diego Fire and Rescue was down here earlier because I'm going to step out of the way. I'm going to show you. This is a flood-prone area. They're watching this area. There was a car that was just stuck in the water that just got towed out. So that situation is under control now. But you know, they're patrolling or they're checking on these areas because on top of the flooding, the high wind advisory is in effect right now, and it's also compounding onto this issue.
Yeah, well, the surf's going to be very bad and poor because so much wind. But with the high winds, trees can get knocked down, right? That's the biggest concern is branches, palm fronds flying off and doing some damage. So it's going to be really windy. It's going to be a pretty legit storm. Maybe not as much rain as we did last week on Monday, but it's going to be a lot of wind. It's going to be blowing hard, so trees falling down and moving around is the biggest concern.
The city is saying if that happens anywhere in public or around your home, remember to report downed electrical lines, tree damage, or gas emergencies to San Diego Gas and Electric if you see them. And there are good odds you may need to monitor the tree damage around your home today because we're expecting winds up to 25 miles per hour, gusts up to 45 miles per hour. Back out here live, also when I spoke with the lieutenant about flooding, he says that the rising water down here is flooding out of the Tijuana River. So the key roads that they're going to be monitoring is Saturn Road, Dairy Mart Road, Hollister Road, and then the area over by the trolley. Live in San Ysidro, I'm Danny Miskell, ABC 10 News.
Danny, thank you. And we are monitoring the latest information on what's happening here throughout the county. I want to bring you to a new closure. If we can go ahead and pull up our live center computer. This is in the Forest Ranch area. The county just posted this, that as of about 10:55, Campanilla Avenue is closed from Castello Circle to Camino San Tomas due to flooding. So we're likely going to see more of this here throughout the day. Jared, earlier in our hour, talked about that outage in the Bay Park area. That has since cleared. We are seeing a few outages throughout the county right now, just a couple dozen people affected at this point, something we also will continue to monitor here throughout the day. We're getting some anecdotal reports from people of their power out at this point, but at this point, this is what we're seeing here. I counted about 24 or so people affected with these outages. We're also watching some of the other flooded roadways. We showed you Quarry Road in Spring Valley. This is in the Escondido area. another road that is susceptible to that flooding, Country Club Road. And again, we cannot emphasize enough, if you see something like this, if you see those road closed signs, please heed the warnings, because we saw what happened last week. So far, we haven't seen any water rescues, which is a great thing here in San Diego County, but I want to show you what they're dealing with in Orange County. This was up in the OC earlier today. They had a water rescue. A person was trapped. Fortunately, the crews there were able to rescue him. They're attending to the man you see in this video from the OC Fire Authority, checking for injuries. So a lot happening as we continue to monitor the storm making its way here through Southern California. At 11:41, we are going to take a quick break, but we'll also have another check of the storm with Vanessa. We will be right back.
A live look from Mount Soledad. We think it's pointed towards downtown. We can't really tell because all the fog that has rolled in, these low-lying clouds bringing so much rain to our area right now. Some areas have had several tenths of inches that Vanessa has been tracking over the last few hours. You can see just how thick those clouds are right there. So let's get over to Vanessa right now, find out where the storm stands, how much more is coming over the next few hours.
Now, the ABC 10 News Pinpoint Weather Super 7-Day Forecast.
Yeah, Jared, and I have to shout out National Weather Service. They're doing a really nice job updating those rainfall totals. As of last check, it was last updated around 11:15, and Fallbrook broke an inch. They've collected close to about an inch and a quarter so far from this morning. So let's go ahead and fire up once again our 5 radar sweeps that we have going, indicating where we're seeing moderate to heavy rain still spanning in the North County, just parallel of the 76 from the 5 all the way to the 15. And it looks like it is continuing to come down just south of Mount Laguna, right along the 8, parts of the 76 and 78 and Julian. And the rainfall rates now about 3/10 of an inch per hour in some areas, and we're now continuing to see a steady stream of light to moderate showers across the South Bay. Winds are also starting to pick up. Right now they're close to about 30 miles per hour in spots like Imperial Beach as well as Otay Mountain, about 25 or so in Chula Vista as well as National City, and right along the coast close to about 25 in La Jolla. We have a flood watch issued for the entire county through tomorrow morning, but some of those watches have been upgraded, including this one for this pocket highlighted in the lime color. That means flooding is imminent all the way from Obi to Santee, so running pretty parallel to the 8 as well as the 52. And this one was also upgraded, a flood advisory for the northwest quadrant of the county, so flooding expected to happen at any minute for those neighborhoods. We'll continue to have moderate to heavy showers through about the 2-3 p.m. hour. Then that steady band of rain will break apart, become isolated, still heavy at times, and then as we get closer to your evening hours, that's when we'll start to see that snow level drop to about 5,000 feet. So areas like Palomar Mountain and Mount Laguna will likely get a few inches. Julian could very well get a dusting. I wanted to fast forward to Friday afternoon because a lot of people are probably wondering, what's my Friday look like? Because of the residual moisture, a lot of instability still in the atmosphere, will continue to have those isolated showers all the way to wrap up your work week. When all is said and done, rainfall totals will be 1 to 3 inches for the coast all the way to the mountain areas, but could be greater due to those thunderstorms. So we'll get an additional about 0.8 to about an inch or so when all is said and done later on this evening, even more so for your Friday. We're also tracking really strong winds, so they will continue to strengthen. This is fast forwarding to about 1 p.m. That wind advisory in place through 2 p.m. For the coast and valleys, will strengthen to about 40-45 mile per hour gusts. They'll back off a little bit west of the mountain areas, and then they'll be more confined to the eastern slopes of the mountains and deserts as those winds shift out of the south, then move out of the west. So here's a look right now. You can't really see much visibility, heavily reduced across most areas, especially along those major freeways. Coastal spots will be in the low 60s all the way through the weekend. We still have that high surf advisory taking effect all the way through early Saturday, with waves anywhere from 3 to 8 feet, local sets up to 10 feet. Inland areas will be in the mid to upper 50s. We stay pretty cool through the first half of the weekend, and then we're actually drying out slightly for this Saturday and Sunday, and then we'll have another storm rolling in on Tuesday and Wednesday. All right, 11:48 is the time. Man, oh man, what a colorful view here across our traffic maps, indicating we are seeing ponding as well as flooded roadways, and we are tracking several spinouts. I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to CHP Mark Latulip, who has more information on those problem spots. Hey, Mark.
Yeah, really the only brake lights I'm seeing, Vanessa, right now is 805 northbound south of the 94, so heads up for that. In that area, we are working a few crashes in that general area. We also have crashes Interstate 15 southbound at Adams, solo vehicle on the right-hand shoulder, 15 northbound at Rancho Bernardo, solo spin out. 78 westbound at the 15, solo spin out. 805 northbound south of Main Street in the Chula Vista area, solo spin out. So again, watch your speed. The reason to spin out with only your vehicle is because you're going a little too fast. So please slow down, stay safe, and one by one, the CHP is getting to all these crashes and getting them clear. I'm CHP Officer Mark Latulip with your 10 News Time Saver Traffic.
Okay, so as we track this latest round of rain and potential flooding, a lot of people are still trying to recover from last week's storm. One Rolando victim is trying to figure out what's next after some disappointing news from her insurance company. This is Becky Rosales. She says last week's storm brought in a wall of water to her rental home. Rosales says $6,000 worth of her belongings were destroyed. She tried to file a claim with her renter's insurance, but got some bad news.
They told me they wouldn't file it. I don't know how I'm going to get it. Hopeless.
Insurance broker Carlos Romero said Rosales and other rental flood victims are likely out of luck because renters insurance doesn't cover this kind of water damage. In order to be covered, renters have to purchase separate flood insurance. That can cost anywhere from $100 to several $100s. A GoFundMe campaign has been set up to help Rosales and her family with their expenses. You can find that as well as links to several other GoFundMes for flood victims, all at 10news.com. Stay with us. We're going to keep track of the storm track and the next round of rain coming through for the rest of the afternoon. We'll be right back.
Skycam Views, sponsored by Carlsbad Solar.
Welcome back. It's 11:53 on your Thursday morning. Let's give you one final look at your weather before the 11 a.m. hour ends. This is a live look towards Lindbergh Field. Current temperatures right now, we are seeing scattered 50s across the board, a little cooler at 50 degrees in Ramona. The chance of rain will continue all the way through the 2 o'clock hour, a little bit of a break around 3-4 p.m. and then it picks back up again with isolated showers, heavy at times. Winds will also be a major concern with that wind advisory through 2 o'clock, strengthening around the 1 p.m. hour, and then those winds will shift towards the mountains and desert communities. Here's a quick look at that storm play-by-play this afternoon. Will be our peak activity with isolated thunderstorms and damaging winds. Then tonight, that heavy band of rain turns to scattered showers. That's when our snow levels will drop to about 5,000 feet. And looking ahead to tomorrow, a lot of people are wondering, will this impact my Friday? Well, sure will. Showers will continue to linger all the way through the end of the week. We do have a slight break from the activity this weekend, even through Monday. And then looking ahead to next Tuesday and Wednesday, that's when we're looking forward to storm number 2. Remember, you can stay up to date on the current weather conditions on 10news.com and the free 10 News mobile app.
And be sure to stay with us. We will continue to bring you another hour of weather coverage coming up here in just 6 minutes.
Yeah, special extended coverage to monitor the impact of this storm as it moves throughout the county. So stick around. We'll be back in just 6 minutes to keep you informed on everything that's happening. Hello and thanks for joining us for this extra extended hour of 10 News at midday. It is noon. We're staying on until 1. I'm Jared Aarons.
And I'm Melissa Masiha. Right now, the rain is coming down across the county. And of course, we are in the thick of it at the moment.
So we've got you covered. Team coverage with crews spanned out all across the county focused on the rain, flooding, wind watches. But we want to start with meteorologist Vanessa Paz to take us through where things stand right now and what's coming in the next few hours.
Right, Jared and Mel. So we are in the middle of peak activity, and the watches, warnings, advisories are an indication of just how hard some of that rain is coming down. This just came in from the National Weather Service about 5-10 minutes ago. That flood advisory has been upgraded to a flash flood warning for the northwest quadrant of the county, meaning that flooding is occurring right now as we speak. So impacting most neighborhoods from the 5, from Oceanside all the way down to Solana Beach, right in between the 5 and the 15, even east of that direction, just near Palma Valley, parts of Hidden Meadows, as well as Valley Center and Escondido. You're feeling probably the heaviest activity right now. As we get our 5 radar sweeps going and kind of zoom on into where most of the activity is currently falling, we're starting to see those showers become really heavy, spanning from Oceanside all the way down to Encinitas, right along the 5, just south of the 78, in between the 76 as well, just south of Camp Pendleton, just west of the Escondido area. In fact, precipitation rates earlier were tracking anywhere from 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch per hour. Moving towards the South Bay, we're also getting hit with some moderate to heavy rain. In fact, I can hear thunderstorms right now outside of our station in the Webster area, and that's spanning among a large pocket from OB all the way down to Mission Valley, right along the 8 freeway, parts of the 5 as well as the 805 and in the Coronado area. Over the past 12 hours, these are totals from 11:15, so I have to update them. They're likely greater now, but we broke over an inch already in Fallbrook, about 1.25 inches there, close to an inch, but not quite there. Maybe have already seen an inch when I update these totals, but right now it looks like we got about 0.8 or so in Escondido as well as Rainbow, and winds are also starting to have a kick. Right now we're seeing 40-mile-per-hour gusts in Imperial Beach. That's exactly why we're under that wind advisory through 2 p.m. is because those gusty winds could very well wreak havoc across not only our freeways due to the reduced visibility, but also because the ground's so saturated. That is where it would be problematic for downed trees, power poles, etc. And we're already getting multiple reports of power outages. So here's a live look right now at, again, the gloomy conditions. You can't really see much, an indication that visibility is heavily reduced. And right now temperatures have plummeted, mostly 50s, close to 60 degrees in downtown San Diego, currently in the low 50s in Kearny Mesa, Oceanside, El Cajon, as well as Ramona. A lot of people are asking, how is this going to impact tomorrow? Are we still going to have intense rainfall? Peak activity is happening right now, but we will continue to have isolated showers through your Friday, heavy at times because of the residual moisture as that storm sweeps east. We'll continue to feel its outer bands in the forms of isolated showers, scattered activity, still heavy at times, and then we should dry out Saturday and Sunday. I also want to point out that we're under a high surf advisory for the coastal areas all the way through 6 a.m. rather on Saturday. We have a west swell that has moved in, bringing in about 5 to 8 foot sets, and some of those sets could get up to 10 feet. Also really strong rip currents, and we're also looking at the threat for bluff coastal erosion due to the heavy rain. Coming up a little later, I will pinpoint how much rain we're still forecasted to receive just with today's storm, and we'll also talk about when we'll finally start to see conditions improve, and we'll also touch base a little on the second storm expected to hit next week.
Vanessa, thank you so much. And San Diego officials issued evacuation warnings to people who live in low-lying areas that flooded during last week's storm. One of the areas in that warning is South Crest. ABC 10 News reporter Natay Holmes is there live, keeping an eye on everything going on, especially from nearby Choyas Creek. Natay.
Yeah, Mel, good morning. And so we do have consistent rain that's been flowing within the past hour and a half or so. But as far as flooding, we haven't seen too much out here in the South Crest area just yet. So that is some good news. But I can show you the canal behind me. We do have a consistent flow of water making its way down. Now, this is actually the canal where we saw flooding rise, the flood water rise and flood a lot of this community last week. Now, as we mentioned about the warning, the mayor issued that that evacuation warning for the low-lying areas that flooded on January 22nd. This includes South Crest, Mountain View, Encanto, San Ysidro, Sereno Valley, and Mission Valley. Now, throughout this rain event, the city says Storm Patrol will monitor more than 46,000 storm drains citywide for any issues. We have seen swift water rescue teams in the area, and we actually are seeing police officers in this area patrolling as well. Now, should a mandatory evacuation be issued, SDPD officers will go door to door to make sure that people are out of their homes. The city has set up a shelter in Balboa Park at the municipal gym. Lincoln High School is available, and then the Jackie Robinson Family YMCA is providing other resources to people like free showers and mental health services. The city says they will be providing transportation to the Balboa Park location via United Taxi workers, and you can actually find all of that information on our ABC 10 News website. But as you can see, still pretty consistent flow of water in this canal. We are continuing to keep an eye on it. It doesn't look like the water has risen, but it is flowing pretty nicely. Live here in South Crest, Nate Holmes, ABC 10 News.
Let's get now to the North County, which has seen some of the highest rain totals so far. ABC 10's reporter Moses Small is in Encinitas right now. And Moses, many businesses in that area still recovering from the storm. You see the rain there coming down pretty heavily where you are.
Hi, Melissa. Yeah, absolutely. The rain is coming down pretty quickly, and you know, I had a script prepared. It is physically too wet for me to operate my phone, so I'm going to step out of the way so photojournalist Shaloi Perez can show you part of the scene. You can hear some noise in the background. The city brought in a big pump to help drain out some of these puddles, and then if we shift our focus a little bit, looking at the ground, this was a small puddle just about a half hour ago. It has exploded, so now honestly this little park is looking much more like a swimming pool. Now many businesses in the area, I'm in the Leucadia neighborhood right now, of course, have flooded during last week's storm. That includes the Mud House ceramic business just down the street, and these businesses have only had a few days to recover, and they've been dealing with consistent flooding for years. People in the area tell ABC 10 News that they've flooded several times over the past few years, largely due to shortcomings in the city's drainage system. City officials saying that their stormwater system is in need of some modernization and some fixing in order to make it more robust. And at the moment, we are again seeing the impacts of the storm. Those showers have really largely picked up over the past 20 minutes or so, and that is resulting in scenes like this. But for now, reporting in Encinitas, Moses Small, ABC 10 News.
All right, thank you very much, Moses. You see all that rain falling behind him. That's one of the reasons why the National Weather Service in just the last 20 minutes issued a flash flood warning for most of North County, especially along the coast, like Oceanside, where Moses is, Carlsbad, Camp Pendleton, Vista. So if you're in that area, stay away from any moving water right now. You never know when that flash flood might hit as more rain falls over the next few minutes. In the South Bay, they're also dealing with rain, but also heavy winds, wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour so far this morning. Let's get to Danny Miskell, who is live in San Ysidro right now, tracking roads that are flooded, wind that is coming down, and a lot of rain. Danny, what does it look like out there this morning?
Hi, Jared. Yeah, so I'm here on Hollister Road. This area, as everyone knows around here, is prone to flooding. Let me go ahead and show you what the waters are looking like here on the road that's closed here behind me. We're going to zoom in and you'll see that crews are still down there. There was a car that was actually stuck in the water earlier, but it got towed within the last hour, so that situation's under control. But, you know, we've actually seen a lot of agencies respond to this situation out here. We've seen SDPD, city crews, California Border Protection, Wildlife Patrol, and we've seen also San Diego Fire and Rescue. They're back down here. I got to speak with Lieutenant Rick Romero, and he told me that some things that he wants San Diegans to be mindful of through this storm.
I think we're going to go to the live center right now.
Thank you very much, Danny. Looks like we're going to move over to our live center right now. You just saw Hollister Road where Danny was. That's down in San Ysidro. This is another road in the South Bay that I wanted to show you. This is Quarry Road, and we showed you this about 45 minutes ago. You can see even since then, the water has risen even more as more rain falls in the area. It's coming up, covering even more of the roads. You see in the background the road closed signs. Again, a reminder, if we can't say this enough, if you see standing water on the road, do not drive through it. It only takes about 6 inches to maybe a foot of water to wash a car away, lift it off its wheels and wash it downstream. So that's one of the reasons we keep showing you these things, reminding you of all of this. Meanwhile, the rain has affected some power around the county. We've seen 4 power outages that are on the SDG&E outage map as of right now. A couple in the Poway, Rancho Bernardo, Rancho Penasquitas area. They're trying to get those turned back on. There was one earlier this morning in the Bay Park and Morena area. That has since been resolved. SDG&E said a tree fell on some of their equipment or contacted some of their equipment. Don't know if it just blew into it or fell yet, but they've been able to restore power to most of that area. Meanwhile, we've seen from Midday Homes already this morning how the water is rising in some of those flood impacted areas from last week. That's where the evacuation warning is in effect. The city saying that if you are told to go, you need to go right away. Here's the thing, a lot of people in those areas don't have cars anymore. They were flooded last week, so the city has worked to set up transportation from the flood impacted areas to the shelter that they have set up at Balboa Park. Mayor Todd Gloria just sent this out saying that the city has contracted with San Diego Unified to have school buses stationed and ready to go at the Encanto Rec Center, the Mountain View Beckworth Library, and the College Rolando Library. So if you need to evacuate, you can go there and take a bus to the shelter. They are also working with United Taxi Workers. So if you want to schedule a taxi ride, you can call them. This number, 619-280-4444, and get a ride free of charge to the Balboa Park Evacuation Center. Meanwhile, flights are still a mess at San Diego International Airport. These are the arrivals that have been delayed, and it is page after page of delays right now. Several dozen flights both in and out of San Diego International Airport. So a lot going on across the county right now. We've heard from the city of National City. They put out a tweet saying all of their parks are closed right now because of the rain. You saw the rain pooling in what Moses brought us just a few moments ago. That scene is playing out in several areas all across San Diego County. So we heard during the last storm, don't leave unless you have to. This is not the day to go out and drive around, see how things look. This is one of those times where you heed the warnings, stay home, stay off the roads unless you need to be on them. Mel?
Right. In anticipation of some of that flooding, there are some people who have chosen to evacuate as a precaution. ABC 10 News reporter Marie Coronel, she is live from Balboa Park. You heard Jared talk about the evacuation site. She is there now. Marie.
Yeah, we are inside of the municipal gym here at Balboa Park. This is one of the evacuation sites run by the American Red Cross. About an hour ago, residents who were staying at the Lincoln High evacuation site were moved to this location. This is the area where these residents will be staying. You see the cots. Many of them are settling in. Again, these are residents who have chosen to evacuate or those who had to evacuate because their house was damaged during last week's storm. As our photographer Ike is panning, you can see this is also their canteen area. This is where the residents are getting their meals as they are waiting it out here at this evacuation site. And joining me now is Dana Simmons with the American Red Cross Southern California. Dana, thanks so much for talking to us today. First of all, talk about what people need to know if they will be evacuating.
Yeah, if people need to evacuate, we want them to know that this is a safe place that they can come and that our shelters are open to everyone and anyone affected by the storm. And what we have here at this shelter is obviously a dry and warm place to stay. We have food, water, a cup of coffee, but we also have health services. So maybe if people need help refilling prescriptions, we also have disaster mental health services. As you mentioned, some of these people evacuated from their homes last Monday after the storms. It's a traumatic experience, so we're really there for people every step of the way in recovery.
As far as the number of people that have showed up, talking to you earlier, you said you've actually seen an increase in residents.
Yeah, in the past week, we have seen an increase in residents in our shelters. Last night, we had about 75 individuals at both shelters. And like you mentioned, the shelter at Lincoln High School has closed, and now this Balboa shelter is the shelter that we have open.
Now, what about the residents who have pets? I wanted to go ahead and point our direction over there towards the pet emergency shelter. What do people need to know if they have pets?
Yeah, well, thanks to the San Diego Humane Society for coming out and helping house pets. I mean, pets are part of everyone's family. A lot of people don't want to evacuate without them, and they don't have to. So pets are co-housed at this shelter, and people are open to bring their pets to the shelter, and they'll be cared for.
All right, and if you are interested in helping out, what should you do?
Yeah, really there's two main ways people can help out. First is signing up to volunteer. We always need more volunteers. So if people want to sign up now to get trained, they can help for the next disaster. And the second way is through a financial donation. That's the quickest way that we can help people. So if people want to make a financial donation, they can go to redcross.org to make a donation, call 1-800-RED-CROSS, or they can also text Red Cross to 90999 to make a $10 donation.
All right, thank you so much for talking to us, and we will be out here throughout the day, and we'll have much more for you on ABC 10 News at 4. Guys.
All right, thank you very much. We continue with our team coverage, extended coverage of the storm that is hitting San Diego County today, compounding the damage that happened last week from the storm where we saw flooding. Let's go to Madison Weil. She's along the canal right now in Logan Heights. That was one of the hardest hit neighborhoods last week. Madison, we want to know what things look like there right now, where the people who are in that area of how this storm is playing out. And actually, if you can just hear us right now.
We're here in
I think I hear some thunder coming in the Mount Hope area as well. What are you seeing out there?
We can hear you, just cutting in and out because of this storm. Yeah, Jared. So here in Logan Heights, we've been watching the rain coming down, filling up this canal. This really was the epicenter of catastrophe for several homes in this neighborhood. I want to show you how close. If we just come around this way, you can see right across the street. We've been speaking to residents in these homes for the last week. A lot of them were experiencing 5 feet of water, catastrophic conditions. If you look down here, a lot of this debris is still left over from last week's storm. So as we've come back, speaking with these residents, trying to figure out what exactly happened, they all want answers from the city. They all tell me really what we saw, all of this water coming up, filling these homes, centers around that bridge down there. They say that before last week's storm was filled with debris, all kinds of trees, mattresses, shopping carts, rocks, you name it. And so when we had this catastrophic storm, the water couldn't physically flow underneath that bridge. So it all backed up, pooled, and then affected all of the homes right here. So we were out here yesterday. Residents told me that they did see city crews out here all week trying to improve that specific area. And today things do look better. We are seeing water flowing down this canal, moving through as it should. But of course, so many residents here wondering why it took last week's catastrophic event in order to see that kind of progress. So we're going to be here monitoring this in a few other areas all day. But for now, live in Logan Heights, Madison Weil, ABC 10 News.
And it is looking nasty on those freeways. You could just see that the entire county right now is highlighted in that green color, indicating that everywhere is saturated. And the blue actually indicates where we're seeing some ponding. I'm going to go ahead and zoom on in to where we're actually seeing reports of ponding right along the 76 on the 5 from Oceanside as you make your way down to Encinitas. And we are seeing slow drives. We're crawling across so many of our major freeways. Those hazard icons are actually where we are tracking some crashes. And that's, I'll toss it over to CHP Officer Mark LaTulip, who can actually detail more of what's happening on our freeways. Hey, Mark.
Yeah, Vanessa, looking through all those crashes, or most of them, they're all, again, single vehicle crashes, minor in nature, not for that person, unfortunately, but they are fairly minor. I found one here on our cameras. This is in the Old Town area, Interstate 5. Again, solo spin out. To cure that, to make that better, slow down. Please just slow down, leave more room around your vehicle in all directions, side and in front and behind of you. And checking in live on other spots, 805 and the 163. As you can see, everything moving along. You can kind of tell on the traffic patterns on the maps where the rain is right now. Looks like Carlsbad, Vista, San Marcos, and Escondido is getting hit right now by a lot of rain. Likewise, from that north of the airport area to along the 8 corridor, lots of heavy rain in that area. So be cognizant of that, slow down, and be safe. I'm CHP Officer Mark LaTulip with your 10 News Time Saver Traffic.
Coronado was one of the areas hit pretty hard during the last storm, flooding and a lot of damage to their pump system. Especially people had to avoid showers for a week. People had to stop using major appliances. So we want to check on how things are going down there right now.
Yeah, and joining us now live on the phone is Coronado Fire Chief Jason Summers. Jason, how's it going out there right now?
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Right now, we are seeing some heavy rain, but our, as you mentioned, with our pump stations, everything was restored over the last week, and the city did build a temporary pump station just as a backup due to the failed one last week. But everything seems to be holding up well. All of the storm drains are flowing. We also have a little bit of a lower tide during this storm than we did from the previous storm, which impacts that flow pretty significantly. So right now, other than the heavy rain, we're looking pretty good.
Jason, we're showing just some pictures and video right now of across the county of flooding and other issues going on. What type of work, because we heard from so many different agencies this week of all of the preparation that they were doing over the last 7 days, what type of work was Coronado doing in addition to fixing that pump station to make sure that when the rain came through this time, it flowed where it was supposed to and didn't flow into people's homes or into anywhere that it wasn't supposed to go?
Yeah, I mean, really talking about what happened with the pump station was there wasn't necessarily a failure as it was just the amount of volume of rain that occurred in such a short period of time. It filled up the underground vaults, and so everything had to be shut down. So since then, throughout the week, there's been really a three-prong approach to this, which is number one, just getting those pump stations back online. Number two, kind of preparing for the storm with the tertiary pump station. And then the third approach was really just involving the community and making sure that they're resilient by getting them sandbagged, assisting local businesses with sandbag delivery. The city's taken a really proactive approach to try to, fortify some of those properties that are subjected to flooding. And so it's just been a really good collaborative approach between not just the city, but the community residents as well.
And we were just taking a live look here. We're looking at some of the roadways throughout the county, which are a mess in some areas. And Jason, can you just talk about, you talked about the communication with community members there. I know throughout the county, of course, there's a lot of frustration, a lot of worry as well. But how have your conversations been with the residents in Coronado as you deal with what happened last week as we look ahead to this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody was shocked at what happened last week with that amount of rain in such a short period of time. It's just not something anybody's used to around here. What we had done throughout the week was we put together some community teams to actually go door to door and visit with the homeowners and check on them and just see where they're at and if there are any needs that they have for the upcoming storm for today. And it's been really positive interacting with them and helping them. And we were able to deliver about 500 sandbags, hand delivered to those residents yesterday. So obviously some shock, from what we saw, but all in all, it's been really positive.
And really quickly, one last question, Jason. We are in what's being called right now an atmospheric river, and there's more storms on the way going forward. What's the long-term plan now? We obviously can't stay in this type of crisis management mode forever, but if wave after wave of storms continue this winter, what's the long-term plan for people in your community to make sure that we withstand whatever Mother Nature throws at us?
Well, I mean, it all starts with, community preparedness and disaster preparedness and hazard mitigation. Every time we're faced with an emergency, we look at what went well, where improvements can be made, and then together we just try to work towards, enhancing those protective measures and improvements and whatnot. So really it's just going to be planning and ensuring that equipment and infrastructure and residents are all prepared.
All right, Jason, a busy year for you, the first year as a fire chief. Thank you so much for joining us on this midday, and I hope you and the family, the boys, are doing well.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
All right, let's go ahead and get a check of the storm track right now with meteorologist Vanessa Paz.
All right, I wanted to start things off with our satellite and radar composite and zoom on into our pinpoint Doppler radar, which have our 5 radar sweeps going, and we'll kind of move about the county and just see what's happening here. So right now we are looking at moderate to heavy rain continuing to fall in the North County as we transition over to the South Bay. We're looking at pretty rapid amounts of rain falling in a short amount of time. In fact, as I just click on this random area, if that cell were to be parked there in the National City area for an hour, we would get 4/10 of an inch in that time frame. So it's a lot of rain coming in a short amount of time. Now we started with a flood watch issued for the entire county, and several of those have been upgraded to either an advisory, a warning, and we now have a flash flood warning, meaning flooding is happening in a lot of areas in this reddish pocket. So the northwest quadrant of the county currently getting just doused with some heavy rain. We're also seeing periods of heavy rain continuing in the Mission Valley right along the 8, and that's exactly where that flood warning is in effect in that lime color there. So from OB spanning all the way to the Santee area. I did update these totals, so this is the latest as of about 15-20 minutes ago. These numbers have been very impressive. We have already collected close to 2 inches in Palomar Mountain, over an inch in Oceanside. We're almost getting about 1.5 inches for Fallbrook, and close to that in Escondido, about 1/2 inch for us at San Diego Airport. We're also seeing those winds pick up right now, gusting close to 40 miles per hour. So you mix in the heavy rain with those really strong winds, you are just looking at disastrous conditions, whether you're even walking or driving outside right now. We have that wind advisory issued all the way through 2 o'clock for the coast and valleys. But notice how I fast forward to this evening, the winds weaken a bit for the coast and valleys, but then they strengthen across the eastern slopes of the mountains as well as the desert areas, and that's because the winds are going to transition out of the south, then coming out of the west. All right, so our rain cloud futurecast still has us forecasting periods of moderate to heavy showers all the way through the 1-2 p.m. hour with a brief break around 3-4 o'clock. But that doesn't mean you're out of the clear for that evening commute. There's still going to be a lot of ponding. Those roads are still going to be pretty heavily saturated. We will continue to have on and off showers throughout the day all the way through the evening. Once we do see that brief break, heavy at times, and then later on this evening, we'll start to see that snow level drop to about 5,000 feet. So if you're waking up in Palomar Mountain, Mount Laguna, you will likely wake up to some snowfall, and we could even get a dusting for areas like Julian. Rain futurecast, so this is on top of the numbers I already showed you. So we'll likely get an additional 1.5 inches, close to 1.5 inches or so. I wanted to give you a live look outside. This is just from our backyard cam. You can't really see much, an indication of how wet it is out there, and temperatures have plummeted. Take a look at what we're seeing right now in comparison to earlier this week. They've plummeted by about 15 to 20 degrees. Across the beaches, we are continuing to have really high surf with sets up to about 10 feet in some areas. Those waves will weaken tomorrow, and then will dry out this weekend. We'll continue to keep you updated throughout the hour. We'll be back after this.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us at 12:30. I'm Jared Aarons.
And I'm Melissa Masiha. Yeah, we are really busy at this hour. We are watching all of this. The rain is coming down across the county, and we are in the thick of some of the heaviest stuff right now.
Absolutely. We've got you covered, though. This is why we're on extended coverage. This is why we're here to keep you safe. We have team coverage right now with crews spread out all across San Diego, tracking the rain, the flooding, the wind, all of the watches and warnings and alerts. And we want to start with meteorologist Vanessa Paz showing us where things are at this hour and what's coming next. Vanessa.
Hey, Jared and Mel. So if you live in the North County, specifically the northwest quadrant of the county, from Oceanside, spanning all the way down to Encinitas, Carlsbad, Solana Beach, I would hunker down because we have flash flooding occurring right now due to the heavy downpours that we're seeing, spanning from the 5 all the way to parts of the 15 along the 76 and 78. It went into effect about 20 minutes ago, and it will stick with us all the way through about 1:45. We're in the Webster area, 10 News station, and I'm actually currently hearing thunderstorm activity outside. So let's go ahead and take a look once again at our 5 radar sweeps that we have going across the county. Again, it is just coming down, dumping right now in the North County as we go to zoom on in. If you live in Encinitas, coming down pretty hard there in parts of Rancho Santa Fe, San Marcos right along the 78 and just west of the 15, just a little south of the Escondido area, and currently falling pretty hard, rain falling pretty hard along the 15 from about Rainbow all the way down to Hidden Meadows. Moving on to the South Bay, we have some light shower activity now in Hillcrest, downtown San Diego, Coronado, parts of OB, but we're now starting to see those showers pick up in La Mesa right along the 8, where the 125 and the 52 meet, just west of the Santee area, and La Presa now right along the 54 near Bonita and Paradise Hills, and parts of the 805 freeway right near about 8th Street. Precipitation rates are anywhere from a quarter of an inch to about half of an inch per hour. The National Weather Service is doing a phenomenal job updating these numbers that we're so far seeing. We are getting already close to about 1.5 inches for areas like Fallbrook, over an inch already in Oceanside. We're getting close to that in Escondido, and we're almost at 2 inches for Palomar Mountain. Meanwhile, San Diego Airport still struggling to see those high numbers, but nevertheless already have accumulated about half an inch and over that in Santee. Wind gusts are continuing to pick up, and we are in the thick of that heavy activity. So right now, winds up to about 40 miles per hour in Alpine. Take a look at that, close to 50 miles per hour near the Rancho San Diego area, Hamul area, close to about 30 there, about 40 in Imperial Beach. So yeah, if you're hanging out outside, hopefully you can find shelter of some sort, or just try to avoid walking or traveling near those big trees that are susceptible to maybe even falling due to the ground so saturated. This is a live look from our backyard cam. We are still looking at very rainy conditions. The freeway is heavily saturated right now. Current conditions, we are trending on the cool side. We're at 56 degrees in downtown San Diego. That's actually quite mild than what most of the county is seeing. Most of us are seeing low 50s from Kearny Mesa, Oceanside, El Cajon, as well as Ramona. Keep in mind, not only are we dealing with high winds and heavy rain, but we also have really high surf across our beaches. We have this high surf advisory. It's lasting all the way through early Saturday. We have a west swell moving in that is beefing up rip currents. It's also bringing waves up to 8 feet with local sets up to 10 feet. If you're wondering, is the rain going to last all the way through Friday? It sure will. We will have on and off showers. We'll actually have some pockets of sunshine as well. And then Saturday and Sunday we'll have much better drying. It looks now that storm number 2 will hold off for the start of next week, and it won't arrive until Tuesday and Wednesday. So that's good news. The only thing about this second storm that we're learning is that it's a long duration storm, so it will last for a few days, and that could potentially bring us another threat for flooding. I'm going to now toss it over to Jared and Mel.
All right, thank you very much, Vanessa. As you just heard, flooding is starting to pick up, especially in some of the more flood-prone areas like the ones that we saw get so much damage last week. And in addition to flooding, we're having to keep an eye on the winds. That's going to make it pretty hard for people to get around, especially if you're caught in a flood zone. ABC 10 News reporter Danny Miskell is live in San Ysidro. We saw an example of this earlier this morning, Danny, and we've been watching the water behind you rise all morning long along that road. Take us through what you're seeing now.
Hi, Jared, Mel. Yeah, so I'm out here on Hollister Road. You know that this is a very flood-prone area, and so San Diego Fire and Rescue lifeguards have been coming through, making their rounds, checking on this area. There was a car that was stuck in the water here behind me just within the last hour. It finally got towed after being stuck there for hours. But you know, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Lieutenant Rick Romero right now because he's going to talk to us about the comparison of what we're seeing today versus what we saw last Monday. How you doing, Lieutenant?
How are you?
I'm good. Can you talk to us first off, just how are you guys feeling about this storm compared to what we experienced last Monday?
Well, last Monday was 4 inches of rain all at once in a short period of time. Today, it's kind of gradual, hasn't been coming down too hard. It's been mostly green on the radar, but we're looking for those red and yellow patches on the radar that really come down and hit us really hard. So that's what we're kind of looking for right now. We don't have that yet, but as we start to talk, it's starting to come down a little more. But we're out in force, so we have units in Sereno Valley, Mission Valley, the Choice area, and obviously down here in the South Bay.
And down here in the South Bay, what are the trouble areas and the roads that you guys are making your rounds and constantly checking up on?
Well, obviously here, Hollister behind us, it's already kind of flooded. This is residual from last week's storm. Saturn's another prone area. Dairy Mart, kind of Smuggler's Canyon down the way here is also starting to flood. So those are the really problem areas for street closures that we're looking for. Kind of drive by and look around and just keep our eyes on it. Obviously in Mission Valley, Fashion Valley roads closed off. And then usually the Sereno Valley area gets pretty inundated. It kind of depends on those red and yellow cells that come in and really give us a lot of water at once that we're looking for.
You were explaining to me earlier about how the storm last week really saturated the ground, and that's going to create some maybe slightly more challenges for you guys this time around because the water's going to move a lot quicker. Am I right?
Yeah, well, the water doesn't soak into the soil because it's already been soaked. So now it's going to be pulling up and it's kind of flowing into wherever it wants to go. So we see behind us, this has already kind of started earlier today from just the saturation from last week. Now you add on this amount of rain coming down, and then again for next week as well, the ground is just wet. So depending on how much rain we get all at once, that's going to trigger the really fast moving currents.
Lieutenant, now that we understand the challenges that your team is with of how last week's storm has compounded onto what you're experiencing today, let's talk about another new factor that you guys didn't deal with last week, and that's the high winds. We are currently under a high wind advisory. Can you talk to us about what your teams are planning and on standby for today?
Well, the biggest thing is watch out for trees, power lines that fall down, or trees breaking and knocking down power lines. So those are calls that come into play. We have high winds, talking 40-knot winds along the ocean. That comes in onto the land, and it's going to knock down some palm fronds, trees, branches, anything that's loose, or maybe from the ground being so saturated, you might get a whole tree just coming down. So it's got to pay attention, watch out for those trees because they can come down out of nowhere, and it's hard to see because especially when it's raining and windy, you got the wipers going off, and you got to pay attention. So drive slow. If you're out there, don't drive in water is the biggest thing. Is you see water, don't drive in there, especially with a small car.
And you know, wood's not a conductor of electricity, but water is definitely a conductor of electricity. So for our viewers who may get stuck and driving in this rain or get stuck around those down trees or power lines or maybe even around their home if that happens, what do you suggest that they do?
Well, if in the car, don't get out, right? And call 911. And we'll try to get some help to you as quick as possible.
Thank you so much for those tips, Lieutenant. All right, this is all the latest update that we have for you down here in the South Bay. I'm Danny Miskell. I'll go ahead and send it back to you guys.
All right, Danny, thank you so much. So Danny there in the South Bay. Of course, we've been watching the South Crest area. Let's go now to ABC 10 News reporter Tay Holmes. She is live right now near Choice Creek, monitoring the area that dealt with such devastation last week. Natay?
Yeah, Mel, good morning. So the good news is right now we haven't seen that devastating flood levels here this morning. So that is some good news, but I can show you that the water is swiftly moving downstream. We are here at 38th Street and Alpha Street, and this area is actually blocked off to traffic, but we have seen some swift water teams, patrol cars, as well as the storm water team out here kind of monitoring this canal here. Now throughout throughout this rain event, the city says that Storm Patrol will monitor more than 46,000 storm drains citywide for any issues. But you can just actually see, as we're turning the camera, just where how high those levels got during the last storm. So it is significantly lower from last time. So again, that is some good news, but still, we are still on high alert. Now, the mayor issued that evacuation warning for low-lying areas that flooded on January 22nd. That includes this area here in the South Crest, Mountain View, Encanto, San Ysidro, Sorrento Valley, and Mission Valley. As I mentioned, we've seen swiftwater rescue teams in this area. Officers have been patrolling. Now, should a mandatory evacuation be issued, SDPD officers will go door to door to make sure people are out of their homes. A shelter has been set up in Balboa Park at the municipal gym, and then the city says they will also be providing transportation to that location via United Taxi workers. But again, out here near the creek, you can see consistently flowing. The rain hasn't stopped. It's not as hard as it was about 30 minutes ago, but it is still coming down here. In South Crest, Nate Holmes, ABC 10 News.
Nate, thank you so much. It is 12:40 right now on your Thursday afternoon. Let's go ahead and get right to the San Diego Fire Department. We have Monica Munoz on the line.
Yeah, Monica, thank you so much for joining us. Talk to us a little bit about the activity that the fire department has seen so far this morning as these waves sweep through San Diego with rain.
Well, we just had a rescue that our lifeguards performed, I think it was about an hour ago, around the area of 54th and Choyas Creek. And they were able to successfully and safely get just a couple of people. They were on one side of the embankment, so they were able to successfully and safely get them out. We have been, as Lieutenant Romero said, there are swiftwater teams from the lifeguard division, and then we also have a swiftwater team as part of a task force that came in from Long Beach to help us. And then we also have our own, as you just saw, the truck go by, California Task Force 8, our urban search and rescue team. And these are all firefighters who are specially trained in swiftwater rescue and technical rescue. So they're very, very skilled, as are the lifeguards, in performing these types of rescues under really extreme conditions.
Yeah, you mentioned the team from Long Beach. Long Beach is actually dealing with some major flooding there as well. But you talked about the coordination with other areas. Can you go into that a little bit? How does San Diego Fire Rescue work with teams from across the region?
We work very closely with those teams. We stay in contact whenever, because of course we monitor weather conditions. We're part of the system with the National Weather Service, so we have special meetings, webinars with them, and they let us know what to expect. And then we also take additional information that is available to us to be able to make decisions about requesting resources. And we work together throughout the state of California with the FEMA task forces, depending upon what the circumstance is. So in this type of situation, we could ask for resources from other local agencies if they're not experiencing the rain as badly as we are in our particular area, or they could ask for resources from us, depending upon the situation and how the rain is moving and how we're doing as far as what's happening in our specific area with rescues and things like that. So
Monica, we're seeing some video right now from across the county of just scenes of flooding, roads that are overflowing, canals that are high but not as high as last week. And while this is all good, I want to take you back to last week a little bit and just ask, what lessons did San Diego Fire and Rescue learn from what happened on January 22nd that you put into effect today that are making things go a little smoother?
We were able to manage the number of calls for service that we got, even though it was a tremendous number of calls. It's the way we handled each different zone of what was going on with regard to the storm on the 22nd. And so essentially because we knew that there was going to be, since we're already saturated with rain, and we knew there was going to be another storm system coming in today and another one Monday and Tuesday, then we mobilized our resources and stood up a lot of different teams to be able to be ready for these scenarios. And we can expand or contract those teams whenever we need to. We can add more resources, or we can send people home if the situation does not turn out to be as dire as we initially thought. But I want to, for people's assistance, before you leave, we hope you can stay in, but before you leave, go to your app on your phone and check the traffic. If you can avoid the freeways, that would be a fantastic opportunity to reduce your speed, increase your following distance. Tell whoever's waiting for you that you're going to take a little bit longer than normal. San Diego.gov/storm has a tremendous amount of resources. Included in that page is where you can get sandbags for city residents, where the shelters are, and road closures. We're working closely with the police department and the transportation department. And when our crews out in the field see road closures, or we have to close a road, or the PD has to close a road, we're updating that page, and we're also putting that information on our social feeds. So people should be bombarded with safety messaging and information that can really help them in these types of situations.
All right, Monica Munoz with the San Diego Fire Rescue Department, thank you so much. And yes, it's one of those days that if you don't have to drive, you've heard Monica say it, you heard the CHP say it, try to stay off of those roadways because that's the problems that we are seeing right now. And we do want to go up to the North County, which has seen some of the heaviest rainfall so far this morning. ABC 10 reporter Moses Small is live in Oceanside near a part of the 78 that saw some flooding last week. Moses.
Hi, Melissa. Yeah, actually, right now, we're in Encinitas. We're in the Leucadia neighborhood that was hard hit during the last storm. Right now, our car's a bit stranded because of flooding, and I'm with Encinitas Mayor Tony Kranz. So I want to say thank you very much for joining us. And I wanted to ask, what makes Leucadia an area that can be prone to flooding? We've seen it last week. We've seen it this week. What challenges does this neighborhood face?
Well, Leucadia has several neighborhoods that have natural bowls built into them, and this is the westernmost bowl. We've got the bluffs on the one side and then the hill to the freeway on the other, and this is where a lot of water ends up right in this neighborhood. And so, you know, we've set up a system as a city that is intended to manage stormwater best we can. The challenge that we've been faced with the last few weeks is storm sizes are getting significant, and so there's a lot of rainfall. Fortunately, we have a little bit of a break, but for about an hour it was pretty solid rain, which has resulted in the park being totally inundated with water. There's a pump working to move the water, but in the end, it's if we get the three hours worth of heavy rain that is predicted, we're going to be pretty busy.
And part of the storm cleanup efforts that you've mentioned in our previous conversation is that the city of Encinitas has lots of plans to make its stormwater system a little more robust, and those plans could cost in the tens of millions of dollars. So tell me about some of the efforts that the city has planned to help mitigate flooding like this in the future.
Yeah, so probably 15, 20 years ago, there was a report that proposed a plan that was going to cost $100 million. The city balked at the time. They put in a smaller system, and it works for your average storm, but on these big ones that we've been getting, it's not good enough. We have since designed and engineered another system that is not $100 million, but it's still tens of millions of dollars to get it all built out. So we have a grant from Congressman Mike Levin for $4 million. It's going to be the starter as part of our streetscape. We're have a contractor on board, and they've begun the work. So hopefully within the next year we'll have a little more capacity in our storm drain system. So, but it's going to take perhaps a decade before it's built out, and we're going to just continue to work with this system that we have now, and anywhere we can find improvements, we will.
And while those long-term plans may take years, they may also take investments in the several millions of dollars. What can Encinitas residents do in the short term to help protect their property and stay safe?
Well, it's really critical that you take the steps, sandbag your house. We have sandbags that are usually available at our public works facility over by In-N-Out at Calle Magdalena. We have been running out of sand because so many people are taking advantage of that. Yesterday we placed sand here right at the park, so the locals here in this neighborhood wouldn't have to go as far to get their sandbags, but it's really important that people take steps to protect their own property. The city is working night and day. We've got a fantastic public works crew. We've got vacuum trucks that are out trying to remove water from problem neighborhoods that we're aware of. We have these pumps running. We have more pumps in other neighborhoods. It's an all hands on deck situation with the city.
And again, these repeated storms creating such expensive and complex issues for the city of Encinitas. So again, Encinitas Mayor Tony Kranz, I want to thank you very much for your time, and I want to send it back to the desk. I'm Moses Small in Oceanside, ABC 10 News.
Moses, thank you so much. And as we continue to follow this storm, we want to bring you some real-time information on what's going on throughout the county. Let's get to the most recent updates when it comes to road closures. You heard Monica with San Diego Fire Rescue that they are constantly updating this page. And I just checked it here. Some of the newer ones are Roselle Street, Carroll Road, and Hollister Street. Of course, you want to avoid the areas that flooded last week, like South Crest and Mountain View. But you also want to avoid these roads right here. This was just updated within the last hour. This is also new. The inclement weather shelter beds, that has been activated for today. So you see the various places here for our unhoused Father Joe's Villages, the Joan Kroc Center. That is one of the larger ones that can hold up to 61 adults, an additional 11 beds for families. Want to update you on the outage map as we refresh this, because there are now new outages here, including some of the biggest ones in the South Bay. In Chula Vista, we have about oh, actually, this one has improved, so that's good news here. This was actually a couple of thousand people, but now they only have one person out of power in this outage. This one, though, in the San Ysidro area, this one is still fairly large. More than 1,600 customers without power in the South Bay. Other parts of the county, you see up in the North County, there are a few outages there as well. We are monitoring our roadways that traditionally flood. That includes Quarry Road. It looks like this one's a little frozen at this time, but Quarry Road, Country Club Lane, those are the areas that you want to avoid right now. And Jared, we have to really emphasize this. You see roads like this, don't even try. Turn around, don't attempt it.
Yeah, as they say, turn around, don't drown. Some of the other roads that we see flooding all the time, those roads down in Mission Valley, those are all closed. The San Diego River, by the way, we've just learned, is now up to 4.5 feet. That has risen more than 2 feet in the last couple hours as rain and rain runoff flows down into the valley there. So we're seeing the reason why there are so many warnings out for flooding right now. All right, let's get a check of traffic right now, see what our roads are doing with CHP Officer Mark LaTulip. Still wet out there, as you can see across the county. Mark's not available right now, so we're going to go to Vanessa to talk about the roads.
Hey, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up the traffic maps here, and then we'll toss it over to CHP Officer Mark LaTulip. But again, if you can avoid driving, that would be my top tip for this weather that we're dealing with. You can just see all green across the maps, indicating that we're looking at saturated roads along with ponding, which is highlighted in the blue color. And we have several hazards across our freeways, likely indicating spinouts and hydroplaning incidents. Hopefully everyone is safe. To give us more details about the roads and what's going on in terms of these crashes, now I will toss it over to CHP Officer Mark LaTulip. Hey, Mark.
Yeah, Vanessa and Jared, it's constantly moving. It's a fluid situation, pun intended. We've got some slow spots out there right now. 5 southbound south of Via de la Valle. We do have a vehicle blocking the the left-hand lane. So heads up for that, some slowing in the area. 5 at the 78. We also have a crash up in the North County. 8 in the La Mesa area. We've got 3 crashes or spinouts that we are addressing at the moment, and checking in on the 805 south of the 54, another 3 crashes in that area as well. But as you can see, spots are moving along fine, and then you're going to find some slowing. Like right now, Rancho Bernardo up to Escondido, and then the 78 in the San Marcos area, lots of slowing, moderate slowing in those areas. I'll keep you updated as we keep going. I'm CHP Officer Mark LaTulip with your 10 News Time Saver Traffic.
All right, Mark, thank you. And let's go back to Vanessa Paz, because she is monitoring a lot of things, including where the storm track is right now. Vanessa.
Hey, I'll show you the storm track in just a moment, but I wanted to first start things off with our rainfall totals over the past 24 hours. They have been pretty impressive, to say the least. With Palomar Mountain, specifically at the observatory, they have clocked in so far the most rain, over 2 inches. We're getting close to about 1.5 inches now for Fallbrook. Not sure if my mic's picking it up, but it is dumping outside of our station right now. We're looking at over an inch accumulated overall in Oceanside, now over an inch in Escondido, still close to about half an inch at Lindbergh Field. Maybe this number hasn't quite updated yet. I'm almost certain that that number has climbed since the past half hour or so, and now we're looking at about 0.6 of an inch accumulated so far in the Santee area. We started with a flood watch, and now we have seen those flood advisories watches get upgraded. We have a flash flood warning still impacting the northwest quadrant of San Diego County, and that will last us all the way for the next hour until about 1:45. Flooding is occurring in that area, and we now have a flood advisory issued for the entire western half of the county from the coast all the way to the foothills, meaning that flooding can happen at any moment. As we take one last look at your pinpoint Doppler radar and zoom on into where we're continuing to see the heaviest rain, right in the Rancho Bernardo area on the 15th. So if you're traveling that direction, maybe hold off until things subside a little bit. We're now getting a little bit of clearing in Vista, just east or west rather of Bonsall, south of the Camp Pendleton area, and you're now getting a little bit of a break as well on Oceanside. Moving on to the South Bay, we are seeing some heavier cells pushing through the Mission Valley area as well as OB, Point Loma, National City, right along the 5 and parts of the 805 in the South Bay. We will see the steady band of rain transition to scattered showers as we inch towards the 4 or 5 p.m. hour, and then we'll see that activity pick up. But again, the peak activity is passing as we speak, and we'll now just see that broken up into isolated thunderstorms producing heavy downpours at times. Right now, we are still in the thick of really high winds, climbing to about 30 miles per hour or so. Locally, perhaps even greater, maybe up to 40 miles per hour. I was tracking some of those gusts topping out at 40 miles per hour earlier in IB as well as parts of Spring Valley. Taking a quick look outside, one final look from downtown Julian. The roads heavily saturated, and we are looking at very cool conditions because this storm overall was associated with a cold front, and that's why we're seeing a lot of those temperatures much cooler. Storm play-by-play tonight, that heavy band of rain turns to scattered showers. Those snow levels overnight will drop down to about 5,000 feet, and on Friday those showers will continue to linger. Now remember, you can stay up to date on the current weather conditions on 10news.com and the free 10 News mobile app.
And before we go for this hour, we do want to have a quick check with our Natay Holmes, who is live near Choyas Creek. Natay.
Yeah, Mel, just wanted to give you one last look. We are here on Alpha and 38th Street where this canal overflooded almost over a week ago. Now you can see it is flowing pretty nicely out here this morning, and you can also see just how high the water got last week. Not as high this time around, but again, we are still keeping an eye on this area. Now this area actually includes one of the neighborhoods here in South Crest. We're in South Crest, just to let you know, but this is one of the areas that is under that warning, that evacuation warning. The others include Mountain View, Encanto, San Ysidro, Sorrento Valley, and Mission Valley. The city is warning that if you do see flooding in your neighborhood, if this water continues to rise, they are encouraging you to leave the house. Now, they also say if you do see that flooding and you are in a safe spot, go ahead and pick up your phone and dial the city's Public Works dispatch number. And we actually have that right on our 10 News website. This is to ensure the quickest response out here so city crews can take a look. Now, we have been out here all morning. We have seen police officers, swift water teams, as well as the storm water department as well. The city says Storm Patrol will continue to monitor this area, as well as 46,000 storm drains citywide for any issues. But you can see this creek steadily flowing, the rain still coming down, and we will continue to follow this area throughout the day. Live in South Crest, Natay Holmes, ABC 10 News.
All right, Natay, thank you so much. It is nice to see that holding up for now. And of course, we are going to bring you coverage here throughout your Thursday, ABC 10 News, both on air and online.
Yeah, stay with us. We'll be tracking the weather conditions and everything else going on around the county of San Diego. Until then, stay safe. This is one of those days where you heed all of the warnings. As we have been saying, don't drive through any standing water. Don't drive early if you don't need to go anywhere, and pay attention to your surroundings, not just the rain, the water, but also the wind, trees, power lines, all of those things to keep in mind.
Yeah, leaving you here with another live look at some of the flooding there in the South Bay. Of course, we will keep you posted on all of the changes here as we deal with the wet weather on your Thursday.